You probably remember that as I built the van, one of my priorities was keeping it as simple as possible, and that extends to the water system. So I don't have actual gray and black tanks. I have a cassette toilet, I have a water jug under the sink for fresh water, and then I have a tank in the back for my gray water from the sink. It's a simple setup, but it's super convenient and it just works for me. I'm not a heavy water user in the first place. I use bottled water and stuff. So it just kind of works. But I do want to upgrade the gray tank in the back, and I'll show you why. So this is the setup currently. I have my sink galley there, and then I have the drain line coming from the sink through this hose, and it's going into a portable RV tank. This has, I've put a quick disconnect on this so that I can unplug it real quick, and then I have it strapped to the floor of the van so that I can remove it. This is a 6-gallon tote and store. It's very heavy duty, and it's really all that I need as far as the size is concerned. The part that I don't like is that I have it strapped to the floor. There's no easy way of handling this tank, and once it gets water in it and starts having some mass, it can slide and move, and I don't want it to mar the tile underneath. I have strap points down here so that it doesn't hit the wall, which is okay, but it's just not a very elegant solution. I had this already, I just wanted to use it in the meantime, but this really is something that I want to address, so I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So this is my solution. This is a jerry can. It's actually designed for racing fuel, and I found it online, and it's exactly what I was looking for as a replacement for this. I didn't buy the spout because I didn't need it, but it does have a nice big opening for emptying it out. There's a nice vent here. This is billet aluminum vent so that, you know, when you're pouring stuff out, or in for that matter, there's no problem with air escaping. But the selling point really was this. This is a floor mount that you buy separately. It just snaps on. You attach this to the floor, and then the can goes into it. It slides in. It's got a little notch there for that, and then it slides down into this. You can lock it in place. There's a hole here for a lock if you want one. If you were mounting it on the outside or on a trailer, for instance, you could lock it in place. It's going to be inside here, so I don't need to do that. But that lets me mount it on the floor. It's a more vertical orientation, so I actually reclaim some of the floor space, and it's mounted to the floor so it doesn't move around at all. Now, to get the water into it, it'll be mounted in this orientation, and I'll make a penetration here in the side of the can and install this. This is just a hose connector that's designed for this application, where you drill a hole in the tank that you're using, and then this goes on from the inside. We'll thread it in through, and then this will be sticking out, and then I will put my quick disconnect on this and then plug everything together. So what will end up happening is this tank will go away, and this will be mounted in place about like that, and this drain line I will shorten a little bit, and then it will run into the side of the can just like that. This will be mounted to the floor. I reclaim some of this space here, and you know, the other thing too is this tank, the design makes it very difficult to empty completely, and you can even hear that there's some liquid in there still. It's only water. That's all I use this tank for. But you know, you still want to be able to empty it completely, and that's just not possible with this. So this just screws off. This will go onto that connector that I showed you a minute ago. So I think the first thing that I'll need to do is position everything and make sure that I mark the location of the input here so that the drain line is a gradual slope. I obviously don't want this to be too high, otherwise the water won't drain, or at least it won't drain very easily. And then when it's time to empty it, I just simply unplug the quick disconnect, and then I carry this in someplace and pour it out. And then the hose will connect to the side of the jug right about there. This is enough of a drop to maintain my drainage. And then I actually have a piece of aluminum here that I use as a support to keep the hose from sagging so that there's no issues with drainage. So just a slight drop as it comes down. As long as I'm pretty close to being level, this won't be an issue. And frankly, even if I am a little off level, the weight of the water itself will push it through the hose, since it's at least level and slightly descending. If the hose were going up, obviously that wouldn't work, but this will be much easier to work with, and I won't have the straps hanging around and the tank sliding and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this connector in the side of the tank. I have my stepping bit to create the opening, and then I'm actually going to use this aluminum to thread it in through the top of the jug into place, and then I'll screw it down, and it just has rubber gaskets to seal it. The water level will never be at this point anyway, so you know, it doesn't have to be completely watertight. I'm not going to glue it or anything like that because it's just not necessary. If this were lower and it was forced water, that would be a different story. But this is all just drained, gravity drained, so it'll be fine. So let's get started on this penetration. I'm going to go ahead and make my penetration in the side of the jug here, and then I'll thread this through the inside, tighten it down, and that will complete the jug. And then I can worry about placement for, you know, where it actually needs to go in order to attach to the floor properly. So this will start right here. So I'm going to thread this through using this aluminum. So I will thread this over the aluminum down to the hole. I'll pull it through the hole, and then I will secure it with the gasket and the nut. And there we go. I have it threaded through. The nut is cranked down and the connection is tight. I'll put the cap back on. I've already emptied out all of the plastic shavings. And then the quick disconnect just screws onto the end of this. And now I can do the positioning in the van. All right, so now that I have the quick disconnect and the fitting in place, I can go ahead and connect it like so, and figure out exact placement of the tank and the hose itself. Let's get the mount, because that will determine where it can go. And I also want to make sure that there's as little strain on the hose and the tank as possible. And some of that is accomplished by the positioning of the tank in relation to the supports. I do want some support on the hose itself, but I want to make sure that it's not causing any problems. So I think from a usability point, I may position it further back toward the door. That will keep the strain on the hose as little as possible. It also makes the jug easier to reach because I have to reach around to unlatch it. And that also keeps one of my anchor points open and available. So this is probably the better option. So now I just need to identify where I'm going to attach the bracket to the floor, and I'll tape it off. I'm going to use some painter's tape, some masking tape, to mark the location of the bracket so that it's approximately where it belongs. So now if I remove the bracket from the jug, I can position the mount and make sure that it's where it needs to be. The next step will be to drive in some mounts. I actually have some of these. These drill into the wood, and then a machine screw goes into it to hold it in place. And this is actually why I'm doing this. This is a little scuff mark from the old tank, because it was moving in place and scuffing the tile. So I can replace this if I need to at some point. I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's going to be covered by the tank anyway. But this is the exact reason that we're doing this. So, you know, my original solution didn't cost me anything because I already had the stuff and it worked while I figured it out. Finding this was the challenge, really. I couldn't find anything until I found this, and this actually worked perfectly. So I'll go grab my drill, make sure that this is in place, and snap it in. All right, let's see if I can do this without causing any damage. I did mark a point here and a point on that side. I can use this to pivot. The mount is going to go over this anchor, so there won't be a screw here, but there's 4 other screws holding it in place. And I think that's okay. If it doesn't feel like it's okay, I can just drill another location. But for now, I think this is how we're going to work with it. So I will drill a hole here and then drive this into place, and we'll see how it works. And of course my battery died, so let me go grab my vacuum and another battery. So now this gets driven in with a Allen wrench. All right, so here we have the positioning, just to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. I'm going to measure my existing markings and make sure that they are correct. All right, so now I'm going to mark the remainder of the holes. And these are where the rest of the nuts, the insert nuts, are going to go into the floor. That will mount this to the floor securely, and then I can latch in the tank. All right, I've got the mount mounted, and we are about to try putting in the jug and seeing how it feels. So there's the mount, nice and stable and secure. And then this goes into place. All right, there's the jug. Feels good. I mean, there's a little bit of movement, but it's going to hold it in place. It's not going to slide around. And then we have the hose to deal with. Just like that. I don't have it connected to the sink yet, so I need to do that so I can test it. But I think it looks good. Okay, I don't have everything cinched down yet, but it's functional now. And this will be a good test because I'm not quite level. So we'll see how well this drains. And then this is also good for testing for leaks and stuff. So let's just all right, it just drained perfectly. I don't seem to have any leaks underneath. Let's run back here. No water there. Once I'm happy with it, I'll actually zip tie the hose to that aluminum strut so that it stays straight. Let's pour the rest of this water in. It's draining quickly. I mean, it's only a garden hose, so it can't go too fast. But it looks like we're in good shape. And when it's time to empty it, we just unclip the quick disconnect. A little bit of water dripping out of that. Whoop. A lot of bit of water dripping out of that. I usually have a cup for this, and I neglected to bring it. Maybe I'll put a hook or something over here. Oh, actually. There, we'll just do that for now. And then I unlatch this, which I need 2 hands for, just like that. And then I pour it out from this side. So I'm gonna go water a tree, but I think this works. So there you have it, a more usable and space-saving design. Maybe not completely elegant, but again, this is more about functionality, and I really wanted to secure the tank. The other one, as you saw, was able to move and slide around, and having to mess around with those bungee cords was just a hassle. So I think this will keep me happy, and it looks like everything is working as designed. So I hope that gives you some ideas. I know that it makes me happy, and I guess that's really what matters. So until next time, I'm gonna go in and cool off because it's 100 freaking degrees out already. So with that, until next time, as always, have a great day.